thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, first, I just want to thank Alfonso David. And Alfonso has one of those jobs that not a lot of people actually probably know even exists. But it's a job that was critical to getting marriage equality passed. It will be critical to getting the Women's Equality Agenda passed, to getting gender passed, to getting the DREAM Act passed, and so much more. And Alfonso is, and I know this for a fact because we are scheduled to talk on the phone later tonight about the Women's Equality Agenda after the Pride Agenda dinner, one of the hardest working public servants I have ever had the honor to be associated with. So Alfonso, thank you. I also want to thank Governor Cuomo for his video. He did disregard me earlier when I said he should pack sunscreen for the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. I said he should listen to an Irish person when she said that. But, Andrew didn't just get elected and make marriage equality a reality. And Alfonso can tell you this. He sat in the rooms with us. He went over vote counts. He called people. He visited people. He spent hours and hours meeting with senators. Jim Alessi, who's here, can tell you that. It's the kind of work, and I say this as a former elected official, you rarely see a very high-level elected official doing. It really was awe-inspiring. And now his commitment to make sure we put an end to the AIDS crisis in New York State, it puts us on track to a second term that will be better than the first term. So go out on Election Day and vote for Andrew Cuomo early and often, let me tell you. I used to represent Hell's Kitchen, so I can say the often part. Nathan, thank you and the Pride Agenda so much for all of your work and so much for this award. Having kind of grown up in a way in LGBT politics in New York, this event is a big deal. It's kind of like the Academy Awards of LGBT New York. And I remember when I first started out always kind of being in awe of the people who got to go. And I remember the first time Dick Dady, the then executive director, gave me a free ticket, which I probably wasn't supposed to have taken because I was a government employee at the time, but what the hell, what can they do to me now? You know what I'm saying? And getting to come in the room and see all of you here who dig so deeply into your pocketbooks and give so generously to an organization that you get no tax write-off for, to move our community forward, to help people you will never, ever meet. And I remember being so struck by that. And every year when I would come in different capacities, it sounds a little silly, but it would, and it does tonight, always make me verklempt to see everyone here who cares so much. And, I know Alan is here, one of our great former executive directors, and to also be honored on the same night as Louis Bradbury. And to be honored in the memory of Doug Jones. And Louis and Doug held the first event for me when I was executive director of the New York City Gay and Lesbian Anti-Violence Project. And there are two people who are were incredibly successful professionals. And out at a time when that was exceedingly risky to one's professional success. And they have always, and Louis continues to, conducted themselves with a level of dignity and focus and fortitude and relentlessness that is inspiring. And Louis, I was describing you to somebody today, and I said, you are literally one of the most generous people I know. If you look around this room, there is no executive director here to whom you have not written an exceedingly generous check. But you also do it smartly, with challenges about how the money should be spent, how we should do better, and then you take your time and serve as a board member and board chair, and you're not one of those phone-it-in board members. You know what I mean? You are there. And I'm now a board member of 3 not-for-profits, and so I say this with great honor. You're a pain in the neck to the executive director kind of a board member, just like me, and that's the kind of a board member we want. So thank you. And I'm deeply touched to get this in Doug's name. I really, really am. You know, I am... We'll get him next time, boys, let me tell you. You know, we've made great progress. And you think about that first dinner, and then to have Chuck Schumer here, and to be such a friend, and all the progress we've made. But, you know, I got to tell you, I still worry when I read the paper. I worry when I read the paper today and I see a story about a transgender New Yorker beaten half to death in our city. I worry when I see states like North Carolina, as Chuck said, making such progress in marriage, but still people being able to be fired or evicted. I worry when I think we might wake up the day after Election Day and not have a pro-gay, pro-women's equality, pro-transgender right state senate in New York. I worry about that because those are real challenges out there. But then when you come to this room, and you see beautiful Melissa Sklar's up on the stage as a board member of the Empire State Pride Agenda, or you see Edie Windsor and Robbie Kaplan out in the audience, or you get to see and know that Deborah Glick is here, somebody who changed the world for all of us, I really am reminded it is not only going to be okay, we are going to make it better. We've made it better. You know, when I look back on my years in government, if it wasn't for the Pride Agenda, we wouldn't have had a domestic partnership registry. If we didn't have a domestic partnership registry, we wouldn't have had domestic partnership benefits. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have been able to push to marriage equality. We wouldn't have had a transgender civil rights law in New York City. We wouldn't have a gay rights law in New York State. We wouldn't have a hate crimes law. We wouldn't have had the foundation that Robbie and Edie needed to go to the Supreme Court. None of that happened by accident. It happened because everyone in this room worked exceedingly hard, and when we lost, you kept moving. That's the hardest thing out there, because trust me, when our opponents beat us, they expect us to crawl away under a rock and feel the way they think about us, like we are less than. And every time we show up and keep fighting, we prove that they're wrong and we're right. And that's the energy and the success that calms my Irish worry and reminds me that there will someday be a day where there's transgender civil rights in every county in New York, where there's a non-discrimination law in every state in the union that's inclusive, that will have hate crimes laws everywhere, and that no LGBT child will sleep on the street, and no child has to face the choice that Tyler Clemente made to end his life because he was so bullied. I know we can get there, because I get once a year to come back into this room and see all of you and remember all that we've done. So I want to thank you for this award. I want to thank you, more importantly, for everything you've done, for all the fights that continue. I want to say anything I can do come January 1st to help get gender passed into law, to pass the law that will end conversion therapy, to get the anti-surrogacy law repealed, to get the Women's Equality Act repealed. Just call on me, because I want to be there. I want to make sure all of that happens, and I want to do it with the honor and privilege of getting to stand with the Empire State Pride Agenda, because you have not only changed the world, you've redefined politics in the state of New York. I'll just close by sharing one quick story. I met yesterday with young women who are responding to the scourge of rape and sexual assault on their campuses. Governor Cuomo asked me to do this so we can come up with legislation to address this. And some of the young women asked me to tell them about what we did after we lost marriage, because they're not winning exactly on all their campuses, right? And they didn't want to know so much about what happened when we won. They wanted to know about what happened when we lost, we regrouped, and we kept going. So not only did you pass marriage, but you gave 10 extraordinary young women the vision, the hope, the energy, and the faith from your experience to know that they can keep going and be successful. And that is, as the TV commercial says, priceless. Finally, I just want to mention some of my heroes in the room who are here tonight. But, you know, this wasn't exactly the year I had planned, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of you in this room were enormously supportive of me in all of my political endeavors, and I want to thank you. And many, many of you have been so kind and generous and loving and supportive in my year moving out of public life, and I want to thank you for that. I just want to take a moment, though, to shout out Stu Applebaum in the room, who's been amazingly supportive in this year to me. My dear, dear friend, Emily Giske, who, you know, love it or list it, you know, she knows what that means, has been with me every step of the way. And my wife, Kim, without whom very little of my success as speaker would ever have happened. So thank you all. May God bless all of you. And may God bless the Pride agenda. And may she guide all of our work moving forward this year in Albany to make sure we have even more to celebrate next year when we come back to the Academy Awards of LGBT gayness in the city of New York. Thank you.
Now a special message from Emmy nominee Laverne Cox.
I'm Laverne Cox. I'm a New Yorker. I'm an actress, and I'm